What's up, YouTube friends and family? Welcome to the broadcast. It is late evening on this video. We've been hauling gravel all day, and I just got the call from a gentleman who is having some apparent major roadside erosion, but he also mentioned a box culvert. It didn't sound like he was too sure of the issue that he is having, but we're going to go down here, we're going to have a look at it, and I'm going to take you guys and gals, boys and girls, through exactly how I am going to quote the project. We're going to break it down to where it's in small sections. Thought like we would need to bring in some dirt or fill material. I imagine we'll probably need to do some fabric, and then he mentioned some larger stones. So we'll get down here, have a look at it, and we will see you there. We have arrived, my friends. Let's get out and see what we see here. Apparently this washed out once before and it broke their water lines. Over there's where they've excavated out for the other end of the water line, and I guess they just put an all new one in here. This wall used to look just like that wall, and it's just rotting out. This beam right here that they had setting at the top of both walls to support, but apparently a hurricane came through and water was just pouring down this road, and it eroded this material, which is sandy anyway. You can see it's just, there's nothing here to hold it in place. These are rotten. So lovely. My idea here is to rip out these rotten beams. Just take them out. I'm going to lift up on this beam, even though I think it'll probably just rip right out of the top over there. I'll lift it up with the excavator, cut it loose. We'll just leave that wall alone for now. I recommended that we line the bottom over there with some stone, but this is our main issue. You can smell the rot in those timbers, even though I'm sure they're treated. That's an old light pole. That's exactly what that is. These are just old timbers. All right, you see it's, but the strange thing is, this is the outflow side. Usually you see erosion like this on an inflow side of one of these culverts. Water will get in behind one of these walls and it'll swirl, and it'll eat that material out from behind it. Now let's check the inflow side. Let us see here. Oh yeah, see, we've got some erosion going in under there. And it looks to me like it's actually, this material is super soft. I don't see any way that water is running. I think it's drying out and it's crumbling away. I would imagine it just wasn't very well packed in back there. Be interesting to know what that box was originally. It's gonna be a pretty easy fix. That side's not bad. They said that it was getting pretty full when the hurricane water came in. You can see that there was water just flowing down through here. Tell by the way the dead grasses are laid over. All right, let's get some measurements. Now let's see. What I'm going to do is run my tape measure down to the stream level and see where I'm at. So vertically, we're at about 13 feet, but we're going to have to lay this back. So for estimating purposes of material, that's 14 feet. I'm going to figure 15 feet, just so we don't come up short. My wheel, yeah. Now, And measure to see the run. So we've got 15 feet up. Get an idea of what we got run wise. Got a long way to go down here to fix this. Yeah, it's just no bueno. We're gonna go all the way down through here. Okay. There's an old water line of sorts. Ah, that's what it is. It used to go under the creek, I guess. And when this all flooded out, it must have broke that water line. Now we know. All right, our run is 34 feet. So we had 15 by 34. Now for our reference, we're going to use our handy dandy telephono. Take a picture of that. And I will draw on my phone the measurements. This is right here is kind of how I reference. I just drew my arrows, 34 feet, 15 feet high. And this way I can also put a price right here and just quickly text it to a customer for each section of the repair. Well, let's find our way around through here to get a good picture of this side. Same thing. Let's get some measurements of this one. Now this inflow side actually will not be, there's actually a pretty good drop in the stream here. So we won't need as much material here. So let's see where we're at. Down to the stream from here, 10 feet. So we can figure our materials at 10 feet. Vertical. See if I can hook this thing on something. To that little stop, roughly 12 feet. We'll go with 12. So our tools in the truck and we can go work some numbers. So this project could be a little bit difficult for some people. Not many of us took trigonometry in high school or college or what have you. And to figure this just as easily, we're going to make it easy on ourselves. I have borrowed my daughter's crayon markers here. And let's find a blue one. Because the base of what we're going to be working is the string. All right, so we've got the string down here. That is our baseline. Now, we use red because it's easy to see. It's good to have one of these, a triangle, a simple triangle. You're going to use this a lot. So we had our measurements, and I'm just going to rough sketch this. We'll write the measurements in here shortly. So we had quite a run this way. This is going to represent our box culvert that the road ran across. When I took my first measurement, I measured from the stream up to the ground level of the road. We're going to use black for that representation. I'm going to actually do a little offset so I got room to write my measurements in for you guys. So we're just going to go straight up from the stream to that ground level. I have found many times drawing a picture helps me figure these things out. Now we're going to and just in my head, I'm doing a reference from how far up we had to go and then how far out along the stream that erosion zone went. So, and it was quite a bit longer. So we're just going to line my triangle up here. We're just going to draw that out. And you can see that we have the rise of that bank and then the run of that erosion area. Next thing I'm going to draw in. Sorry if we got a little bit out of area. So we had our rise of the bank from the stream up to where I was standing, and now we have the run of that erosion area. What I'm going to do is connect those 2 points. This doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to go by numbers eventually. This picture is to get a point to you guys on how to do this easily. All right, so you've got this repair area that's now a triangle, okay? If you're not good at figuring, you don't really have to know this length because that's the Pythagorean theorem, which we are not going to need. We're not going to make this difficult. We're going to make it easy on ourselves. How do we make it easy on ourselves? I am going to line this up just like so. And I'm just going to roughly draw a line straight out, just like this. I'm going to try to make it as square or rectangular as possible. Okay, so this right here, this is our repair area. Easy. Now the reason that I'm doing this is it's a lot easier to figure your area, your surface area that you would be repairing if it's either a rectangle or a square. Now let's get our measurements here. You guys can probably see in that picture that I took and I put my measurements on that the rise was 15 feet. So I'm going to draw my 2 little measurement lines. And this is how I always draw them. 15 feet. And then I'm going to go up here. And you guys don't have to do all of this. Okay, so we got 15 feet here. And then we've got 34 feet. I'm going to do 35 even. And that gives me an extra little bit of area that figures in, and then that gives me even more cushion to where I don't underestimate how much material I'm going to need. Now that we have our rise and our run, what I'm going to figure here first is how much stone am I going to need? We're going to be using probably a class 1 riprap, which is about the size of a basketball. It's about 12 inches. If you took one and you just made it round, they're usually a little elongated, but the round, they're about an 8 to 12 inch thick rock. It's about the size of a basketball. So I use the same tonnage calculator that I use for driveway work, because now we have almost a parking pad. It doesn't matter that it's tilted up, that it's a bank, a slope. What matters is it's an area. So if it's easier for you to think of it this way, take that bank and just lay it down flat, just like we've done on paper. Now I'm going to use the same tonnage calculator as I use for a washed gravel. And it averages out to be about the same. The only difference is the depth. I put in the thickness of the rocks that I'm going to use. So we've got a 35 foot by 15 foot. And I'm going to put in about 10 inches because that's the median thickness of these rocks when they're laid down. and our tonnage is 22.8 tons. Now that's to cover this whole rectangle, 22.8 tons. Now this is where it makes it simple for you. Okay, you're not covering this whole rectangle. You are only repairing this triangular repair area. So we're going to say 23 tons. Divide that by 2 because you're cutting this rectangle in half. We only need 11.5 tons of riprap. So let's write that in. 11.5 tons. And when I do these slopes, these erosion repairs, you've got it sloped back. You're going to put fabric down, which we'll figure for here shortly. What I'll do is I'll start placing this riprap, obviously, down in the stream bed. And that's where this extra foot comes in. That stream was not deep at all. That was one thing I checked. When I measured this, I shoved my ruler down into the water and hit the stream bed. So I know how far down that stone is going to need to start. And then we just place those rocks on up on the bank. And that is how I figure for these pie-shaped or triangular shaped repair areas. It's not always going to be a straight bank because we just cut our estimate in half by tapering this down. And even if it was a straight bank, more than likely the erosion is going to start at a point and it's going to taper off because the pressure of that water usually gets reduced. So you can taper that line, and by cutting this number in half, you may be cutting the price in half from what a competitor would quote this at. Just a quick side note, if the repair area on the other side, the inflow side of the box culvert was the same, you wouldn't cut this in half. You would just figure a repair area just like this, because this half of the rectangle will be the cost to repair this side, and then when you cut it in half, you got the same price to fix the other side of this box culvert. But the measurements are not the same, so we'll continue on quoting this side, and then you'll be able to apply these same principles and this same kind of a drawing to figuring for the other side, which I'll figure the other side for me on this project so you guys can see the difference in expense. But this is a really easy concept and an easy way to figure triangular repair areas. You could use this same concept for if you were doing a parking area that tapers somehow. And we'll be, you know, that's more of a parallelogram, but that'll be in future videos. So if you're finding value in these videos that are showing ways that I quote, click the like button and comment for me. Tell me if you're getting value from this, and also comment something that I may have missed that you use that makes it easier, or something that you would need to hear or me put it in a perspective for you individually how to explain this, because it's totally different for everybody. Now then, here's the other thing. I'm not going to go into this saying 11.5 tons. I'm going to say 12. Because when you go to the quarry, if you're hauling your own material and you get on the radio and you tell the loader you want 12 tons, for the most part, they are going to load you as close to 12 tons as they can without going over. Therefore, if I told him 12 tons, and especially my little single axle down there, if I tell him 12 tons, more than likely I'm going to end up getting anywhere from 11.25 to right at 12 tons. Now I'm just going to go through time and travel, all of that stuff, equipment expenses, and I'm just going to make a list. Okay, our travel time to that job by car is 1 hour. Hauling an excavator that weighs, 20,000 pounds, that's going to be a bit slower. I'm going to estimate an hour and a half. 1.5 hours one way. Easy peasy for that one. The good thing is I don't have to haul fabric separately. I'm going to throw it in the bed of the dump truck. I'm going to have the excavator on the trailer, And I have a place to leave the trailer down at this job, so I'm not gonna have to be finding somewhere to put it or haul it all the way back unnecessarily. My plan on this job is to give him separate pricing for each side of this box culvert, because this is going to end up being a pretty pricey job and for each side. And it's easier for somebody to stomach hearing this side's going to be this much and then I can do the other side for this much. This side we're doing right now is definitely the one that's eroding faster and is a danger to ruining the road. That's the biggest thing about it. So this is the big one. We're going to get this figured, and we'll have a number for that. We'll figure a number for the other side, and then we'll give them a number for doing them both at the same time. The material cost currently for Class 1 riprap at the quarry I deal with is $25 per ton. So 25 times our 12, 300 bucks. Riprap. And I'm just going to make a list, and this is just a recipe for success. I just mapped from the customer's location to the quarry, and it's a 40-minute by car drive to get this material, but it's mostly interstate, so we're going to be scooting along really, really well. Therefore, I'm just going to figure 45 minutes for the haul time of material per trip. That for 2 trips total comes to 280 bucks roughly for the cost of hauling the material. I'm going to round up to 300 because this Class 1 stone is bigger, but it's very jagged, and because it's bigger, it's not small, each sharp edge of that is wearing greatly and exponentially more on the floor of your dump bed than, say, a 3/4 inch size gravel. So the 300 haul bill, 300 for the riprap, 600 bucks for the 12 tons of stone. It's high, but it covers us. We're not going to lose money at this price. You're actually going to make a little bit. The fabric we're going to use, you can just figure this whole rectangle, because in this case, once you lay it out and you cut it in half, we'll be able to flip it around and use it on the other side, since the other side is a little bit smaller, so we know it'll cover it. But you still want to figure this whole rectangle. In this situation, you want to figure the whole rectangle, even if you don't have another side of the creek, because I've just found that if you cut it into an irregular shape or a triangle, you're not going to find an exact use for this fabric. For what it costs for you to store it away and remember or make a note of where that particular piece is, it's just not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. So just figure this whole rectangle. This stuff comes in a 500-foot roll, and it's like a little under $400. So for this whole piece here, it's going to be like 50 bucks. So that's what I'm going to charge, just 50 bucks. It is actually a little over $40, but I like working in round numbers. That brings us to 650 bucks in material between the Class 1 riprap and the fabric. So our total is $650. Now we're going to figure our equipment, labor, the costs that you have to determine on your own. The area I live in is very expensive to live. Everything is expensive, from food to your housing, everything. Taxes are high. My taxes on my property went up 28% this year. Why? I don't know. I don't know where they came up with my property's just shot up that much, but that's what we're dealing with, and that's why my prices seem to be quite high in comparison to a lot of other areas that you guys live in. I've talked to people who say my prices are fair. That tells me that they live in a similar economy in their area. And then there's some people that would call me a shyster. I've actually been called that recently. Of course, that person also said that I should charge for a material that I should charge round down to a price below what I pay for a material. So that tells you what kind of people are out there. Unbelievable. Those people don't need to own a business. I believe if I got a really early start one day, I could knock this out in one day. But I feel like I need to round up to about a day and a half time to cover myself, to make sure that I've got plenty of time figured for operating, and that I'm not going to get into the situation where I run into something there and I'm there for 2 days and I've only charged for 1. It's not going to kill me on income, but I have to make a living on this. So a day and a half for me, I get $1,500 a day. That's my standard charge. Divide that by 2, that's $750. Add that back to the $1,500. So we're at $2,250 for the operating machinery, everything like that. So that's $2,250. Now we're going to add our material cost to this. $2,900. For this economy and this repair, and as far away from me as it is, that's a fair price. So that is the one side. Now I have went ahead and drawn this picture out showing the other side. That's 12 feet from the box culvert out to the edge of that repair area, and from the base of the stream bed up to the top of the road is 10 feet. Now I could go through all that again and figure this, or I could do it the easy way. Referencing back to this, I figured up my square footage, length times width, split it in half, and that gives you 262 square feet for this repair area. This side was $2,900 to repair it. Divide $2,900 by 262 square feet. That gives you $11 per square foot cost to repair this erosion problem. To figure the smaller side, what I did on this side, you have your 12 feet by 10 feet for this squared off area. That gives you 120 square feet. Split it in half, that gives you 60 square feet. 60 square feet of area in here that we have to repair. Multiply 60 square feet by the $11 per square foot, and that gives you $664 to repair the smaller area of erosion problem. That makes quoting this really easy. You just add the $2,900 plus $664, you get $3,564 to repair both sides. Keep stuff like this, folks, because there will come a time that you're going to have a similar job in this same town with the same access, a lot of the similarities, and you can take these numbers and modify them. You can think, well, this is going to be a little more difficult to get to. It's going to a little bit farther to travel, a little less travel. And you can just make small modifications to these numbers instead of having to go through all of this time and time again. Doing estimates and quotes when you have to write them all out from start to finish is time consuming, and time is money when you're in business. You guys be sure to like and comment on this video. Let me know if you're getting value from videos like this. And if you are, consider subscribing, dinging the bell, and joining us on the next one. Hopefully, if you subscribe, you will see me do this job in a future video, and you can see how we go from doing a simple bid to making a living. Thanks for joining me, guys. We love y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.